Welcome to the Heavenly Treasury broadcast where we help believers achieve God's financial abundance for your life. I'm your host, Ron Turbo, author of the Heavenly Treasury series on biblical finance, coming to you with another great topic today that will hopefully bless you in your walk with the Lord, that's for sure. So on this broadcast, we definitely talk a lot about the desired financial abundance that you have a birthright to have. Yes, as you as a follower of Jesus have a birthright to financial abundance beyond your wildest dreams. You may not realize that, but that's absolutely true. Because Jesus died for more than just our salvation. He died to destroy the curse of the law, which is, of course, part of that is poverty and financial lack. So this is really what that focuses on from a marketplace perspective. Because what I've definitely found a lot of the times is that when it comes to spiritual food, from receiving spiritual food from a lot of ministers, and so to speak, they come at it from a ministerial angle, and I certainly am not going to do that. There's plenty of great people out there that will from that angle. So if you're in the ministry, full-time ministry, whatever that is, all right, then there's definitely a great place for you there, but there's also something for you here too. But really, this is going to be focused on those who are in the private marketplace. And even if you are a preacher for whatever reason, God's called you to be there, whether it's a missionary, evangelist, pastor, whatever you name it, there's definitely going to be something here for you. Why is that? Because most of the people that you're going to be preaching to are not in the ministry. They're going to be private marketplace folks, okay? And businessmen, workers, laborers, that sort of thing. And so this is going to give you a much better perspective from where they're at, okay? And so really what I was coming on here to talk about today is something very unique and something that that just hit me maybe a few minutes or even a couple hours ago, is about destroying the desire to quit. And why do we talk about that? All right, just think about this for a second. How many of you have ever quit on something? And that's going to be most of you. If we're not lying to ourselves, that's going to be most of us, myself included. I certainly have. Okay, but what we think about is what causes us to quit. Have you thought about that? What causes us to quit, to stop what we're doing? Whatever that is, whatever desire or focus or life dream that we have, what causes us to quit? And no, seriously, think about this for a second. All right, for a lot of folks, you don't really know because you just end up one day quitting, and then a few months later regret it. Most of the time, right? I'm sure most of you have heard of the book 3 Feet from Gold, which is a book. The philosophy is the person's going to work and dig a hole. All they're doing is digging and seeing no results whatsoever. And then they quit, and they realize that if they had just dug for maybe another hour or two, they would have reached the gold. So they dug 1,000 feet, 2,000 feet, said, oh, I'm done with this. I quit. I don't see anything. But the gold was right there. And the person who comes behind them just picks it up and walks away. Only has to dig a couple of feet for that gold. Okay, so that's really what that book is about. I haven't read it personally, but I know it is a very good book for a lot of folks. And really what it comes down to is, again, if you're on the path that you know you should be on, then there's riches ahead guaranteed. And that's how God works for you, especially those in the marketplace, is that the path that he has for you, whatever path that is, has pure abundance, finer than fine gold. It does. All right, so God right now is sitting on streets paved with gold. He's in heaven, and the streets are paved with gold. So just think about that for a second. The God who's living on streets paved with gold somehow wants you to be poor. No. Zero chance. Okay? Zero chance whatsoever. Okay? And so if that's our really desire, how do we really achieve that? And that's what I talk about here on the broadcast a lot. And really one of the things that I've noticed over the years is that a lot of folks will quit. All right, maybe they don't just quit the race, because there's definitely 2 types of quitting. So if you think about somebody who's running a race, a marathon for whatever reason, I'm just using that as an example, okay? So one person who quits, I'm not talking about somebody who breaks a leg and physically can't finish the race. That's putting that aside, okay? All right, so but there's 2 types of quitting. One is I'm gonna quit and literally just say I'm on mile 15. I don't feel like going any further. It's too hard, whatever that reason, and so they just stop. They leave. They go get breakfast, whatever the heck, and just move on with their life and say, well, I tried a marathon once and I stopped at mile 15. That's number one. The second person who quits is the person who doesn't actually leave the race. They just stop. Okay? And it's a lot easy to notice that when you're physically running a race, because you can tell when somebody stops. They're in the same position many, many times. Over the time, you see they're in the same position. So if somebody quits on mile 17, they'll just sit there and say, I quit, and just sit right there. And 3 hours later, they're still sitting at mile 17. Meanwhile, everybody else is finished. So that's another type of quitting. And you may think, wait, that doesn't really happen. Oh, really? How many people have been making the same exact income for the last 10 years? Pennies to the penny. That's quitting. That's the second type of quitting. And I know that doesn't really seem like a lot because you're working and working and working, but are you really working, or are you just going through the motions? Because if you were really working what the Lord wanted you to work on and the way He wanted you to work on it, you would not be stagnant financially for 10 years straight. That's the second type of quitting. So there's definitely two types of quitting there, and you have to understand that and be very, very clear about it, because the first quitting is the obvious quitting. Is I literally just physically left the race. I'm no longer running in the Boston Marathon. I'm in Virginia right now. Clearly that's quitting because you're not in the race anymore. But the second type of quitting is the person who literally sits on mile 17 and doesn't move at all. They say, well, I made progress. Well, great. You're in the same place 3 months, 6 months, a year from now. That's not progress. That's not. Why? Because financially speaking, there is a tidal wave that is behind you. And if you are not ahead of that tidal wave, you will be destroyed. And the tidal wave is called inflation. So if you have the same income for the last 10 years, you have gone backwards significantly. And you don't even realize that, because that's, in essence, in my opinion, that's quitting on your assignment. Because if you're in the same place that you were 10 years ago, that's quitting on your assignment, or you're working the wrong assignment. Okay? But if you're in the assignment the Lord wants you to work on, you're not going to quit, and it's going to continual increase. It's going to get better, a lot better, significantly better. And that's what we talk about here. To get in that flow, to get in your assignment, which is your specific assignment. God created you to be a very specific individual with a very specific purpose. He did not create you to be stagnant. He did not create you to have a boring life. He didn't create you to just do everything that everybody else does. He made you to be very special. You are very special because He put every single hair on your head exactly the way He wanted it to. And there's thousands of hairs on your head. And God put every single one there for a very specific purpose. He made your brain the way it is. He made your intelligence the way it is. So just, I see this a lot. And I don't know why I'm diving into this particular area when it comes to quitting. But I've certainly noticed that there is a very big difference between somebody who has a low IQ and a high IQ in business. And I'll tell you this. The person who has the low IQ actually has a lot of advantages. And for you who maybe were a C, D student, then just barely scraped by to get by school, and you're thinking that's how it's going to be in life, I can promise you that's not the case. I can promise you. Because people, here's the beauty about people who are born with less intelligence. They know they've been born with less intelligence. And that means they know they have to work harder just to make even with everybody else. That boosts a work ethic in you. And you may not realize that, but it does. Because if you don't work as hard as you're working, you're going to fall behind significantly. And I've seen this so many times, and especially in an affiliate marketing industry, which I know a lot of people are in. Some of the best leaders in those organizations are people that are not intelligent. Now, they're hard workers. They have great thought processes. They have great imagination. They have great vision. They have all of that. But they're not somebody who sits around thinking, okay, how can I best skirt the direction and just find an easier way to get there? You know you're not intelligent, so you know you have to work. And not only that, you're not intelligent, which means you have to follow directions from somebody who's been successful. Because you know if you don't do that, you don't have the intellectual capacity to do it on your own. So you have to follow somebody else's directions. That alone is a skill set that most smart people will never pick up. Because they've been smart their entire life. They've been at the front of the class their entire life. They've been told they're great their entire life. And they've just been given problem after problem after problem to solve. Well, guess what? That makes you a wonderful employee. And so that's why people who are top employees are smart people. The top employees are the smartest people. That's not the same if you're leading an organization, because you have to make things very, very simple. If you're not intelligent, you know that things have to be told to you in a simple manner. If they're not told you in a simple manner, then guess what? You're not going to be able to figure it out. So what does that do for you? That allows you to project things and communicate to other people in a way that makes it very simple. Do you see how that works? Those are three great advantages for you if you don't have high intelligence. And that's going to really help you in the business realm. It does. And I've seen this so many times that people who are, remember, if you're leading a team, let's just say for the moment, you're Ray Kroc and you're leading McDonald's. Do you really want to go to this McDonald's, that McDonald's, and that McDonald's and have all these people and very different owners and saying, you know what, I want you to do it this way, you do it that way? No. He has to make it very, very simple. And if you don't have the greatest intelligence, guess what's going to happen? You're going to make things very, very simple, which means you can create systems that other people can follow that are very, very simple. Smart people can't do that. And that's what gives you a great advantage. And again, that leads into just why you shouldn't be quitting. Because the main purpose of that is because you have guaranteed abundance in front of you as a follower of Christ. You do. And if you're on your heavenly assignment and you do what you're supposed to do, then you're gonna create that. So really, if you think about quitting itself, from my perspective as a believer, you don't know the scriptures if you're quitting on your heavenly assignment. You are. And I'll certainly tell you that it's not going to happen the first time. The first time you try, it's not going to happen. But the second and third time, that's what helps boost your faith. That's what helps boost your endurance. And those are things that are refining for you. Now, I will certainly tell you that in the month of April, my wife and I were in one of our businesses. We were trying to figure out how to grow and expand into other offices around the country in other states. And we were having a hard time doing that, but we found a breakthrough that the Lord gave us during one of our prayer sessions. And we ended up implementing it. And it wasn't working. And we did over 100 interviews for the positions that we were trying to fill, and we couldn't fill them. We got 3 people to fill, and 2 of them quit. Okay, and that's in the month of April. So every single time we would try something new, it wouldn't work. Whatever the reason it was, it didn't work. Now at that point, a lot of people would say, "Oh, I'm done with this. I'm quitting." But guess what? not us. We did that because we knew this is where we're supposed to be. We did. For a number of different reasons, we know this is where we're supposed to be. So we couldn't quit. Why? Because that was our assignment. Okay? So why do I say that? From a biblical perspective, this is why. Okay? So this is going to be Philippians 3, 13 and 14. So this is Paul writing. He says, "Brothers, I do not count myself to have laid hold of it yet," meaning the prize that he's going after. For you, it's the win. For you, it's the sale. For you, it's the sale of your company, the sale of whatever product or service you're doing. All right, whatever that is. But only this: forgetting what is behind and reaching out for what lies ahead. Do you understand that? That means we're not neglecting what is behind and ignoring the lessons. What we are doing is focusing on what lies ahead. And for you in business, that is financial abundance. And when you achieve that financial abundance, that means a lot of money into the ministry, a lot of money into saving souls, a lot of money into growing the ministry and growing God's kingdom here, and putting people into heaven. That's important, because I want you to understand that heaven, eternity is a very long time, a very, very long time. And if we get somebody out of the kingdom of hell and into the kingdom of heaven, that's worth it. Just one person. Because remember, eternity is a very long time. Would you rather spend it on streets paved with gold or in burning fire? Which one? I know which one I want. I don't know about you, but that really drives me to make a better choice. All right? So that's 13. 14 says this: "I press on towards the goal for the prize of the high calling in Elohim and Messiah Yeshua," which is the prize in God, which is, again, completing your heavenly assignment. Okay? And for those of you in the private marketplace, your assignment is, of course, creating a great and mighty leadership business to be able to live an abundant life here on earth and in the next life as well. So that's what's going to really destroy the desire to quit is having these scriptures put in your spirit, because that's really what you're supposed to do, is have these scriptures input in your spirit so you don't quit. And these scriptures are really what destroys the desire to quit. Now, if you think about Abraham for a second, and we all know that he had one son with his wife, and that was Isaac, okay? But if you think about it, he was in his mid-90s, and God said, you're going to have a son. And he said, yeah, all right, okay? But he did. And just think about that for a second. If you're 95 and God says, go out and try to have a child, do you think it's going to happen on the first time? Probably not. Okay. I'm not 95, but I've met a few 95-year-olds. They are, I'll just leave it at that. You can use your imagination. Making a child is not easy at that age. Let's just leave it at that. Okay. And this is before TV. This is before pharmaceuticals, before anything that could have helped you physically along the way. Again, topic for another discussion. Okay. But just think about that for a second. His wife is and him are in their 90s, and God says, you're going to have a son, and through you you're going to have many, many, many descendants. Do you think there was a desire to quit in him? You better believe it. Even if it didn't come out of his mouth, it was definitely in his mind. God said for me to do this. 6 months later, there's no kid. What the heck? All right. So guess what happens? He continues to press forward. But here's the thing, which is why you don't quit. Here's another reason that will destroy the desire to quit. It's this right here. It's Romans 4:20. And this is talking about Abraham right there. Okay? So here he is. If you back up to verse 19, and it says, and Abraham, not having grown weak in belief, Abraham did not consider his own body already dead, being about 100 years old, and the deadness of Sarah's womb. He did not hesitate. He did not hesitate about the promise of God through unbelief, but was strengthened in belief, giving esteem to Elohim, which is God. Why is that important? Because the trials are what build your endurance. They build your faith. That means if you can conquer what you have now, you can be trusted with more and greater challenges and greater battles. Guess what that means? Bigger increase, more finances. Yes, that's right. Okay, because another level means more finances. Okay, so if you're thinking right now, I'm stuck, I don't know what to do, guess what? This is a great place to start. Finding your heavenly assignment. Okay, and then not quitting under any circumstance whatsoever. And this is why, because there's guaranteed abundance if you don't quit on your assignment. All right, and if you don't know what to do and you're not sure what to do, because this will happen to every single person, I can promise you this, no matter where you are, no matter what you do, what's going to happen is God's going to tell you to do this, this, and this. It's not going to succeed the first time, or it's not going to succeed as well as you would like to the first time, because when God will tell you, hey, do this, 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 you get really excited because it's new, it's from the Lord, and you're really excited to go on. Don't despise the day of small beginnings, all that, and you're really excited. Well, guess what happens after you hear 5 no's? Most people will quit. They will stop. But that's the problem. You stopped. Because if you kept going, you would realize that your faith would be building. Your endurance would be building. And at that point, you will get to the point, and I'll tell you this right now from personal experience, you will get to the point where no matter what anybody says, you're not leaving. In fact, if somebody tells you not to do something, that'll give you fuel to keep going. That's where you're going to get. That's what building your faith is. Because most people will start on this progress of, I wish I had my iPad connected, I'd draw it out for you. But if you think about it, they're going to start, if you've never had a challenging endeavor before, you're going to get out there and you're going to, the first time that you miss a basket, the first time you miss a catch in football or something like that, and you're going to fold. That's where most people are going to start. They're going to stop at the very beginning. Hopefully that's when you're 4 or 5 and your dad's there to say, okay, son, pick it up. Don't quit. Keep going. Stop crying and get out there and do it again. Because every single human is going to do that the very first time. Then you're going to get to the point where, okay, I'll stop. I'll go. And, maybe after 3 or 4 times you say, okay, this still isn't working, but I don't know what to do. That's the second point when a lot of people quit. Is right there. Is saying, okay, I've done what you wanted me to do as best as I can, and now I've quit. So that's the time. That's when Pops will step in and say, okay, you got to work on your technique a little bit. Don't try to catch it with your body, catch it with your hands. Okay? Or don't shoot it two-handed, shoot it one-handed. That'll give you a better opportunity for it to go in the basket. Those are things that will happen during 3 or 4 times. Then you'll get to the point where you start making a few, and then you're stagnant, which is fine at that time. Is now you're catching a few balls, now the baskets are going through the hoop, you're making a couple of sales, and you know what? Things are going okay. And they're better than they were before, which is good. You're getting some wins. But there's also going to come the next point when a lot of people will start to quit, which is, okay, I've been doing this for all this time, and it's not going anywhere. I'm staying the same. So God must want me somewhere else. That's where a lot of people are going to be, and that's where I believe most people are going to be quitting. Right there. Okay? So how do you stop it right there? That's where the Lord will come in. That's where the Lord has to download supernatural ideas to you, and this is how that happens. It's the covenant of the tithe. It is. Now, you don't hear me talk about giving much at all here for a reason, because I don't take your offerings. I don't. I have great places. If you want to give, you can give. I can show you a few places, but I personally am not going to receive that. Not whatsoever. So, but what I bring that up is there's a lot of great benefits, and why God made a financial covenant with us in the covenant of the tithe, beyond just offerings and alms and all that stuff. The giving of the tithe is for God to open the windows of heaven for you. What does that mean? That means you get to look into heavens to God Almighty and have Him give you the supernatural idea that will get you past the next point. Because that's what's going to happen. All right? Because you are going to get to a point, and I've talked about this quite a bit on previous broadcasts, is where when you're first starting out, especially in business entrepreneurship, being a laborer in the marketplace, you're going to have to learn from somebody. Either that or just make many years of trial and error. So most people are going to learn business skills from somebody. Hopefully a parent, if not a coach, something along those lines. But at the same time, you know that if somebody's training you and teaching you, you have to follow them. And you have to be on their path for a little bit, just so you can learn. And so eventually you're going to veer off of that path. Why? Because your path is not the teacher's path. It's a different path. Even if you believe in what they're believing, even if you love what they're teaching, you believe in that so much, and maybe even you want to go work for them. Great. But at the same time, your path is different than theirs. So at some point, you're going to be on your own, meaning nobody else is going to be in front of you on your path. What does that mean? That means nobody's guiding you really except the Lord. And that's important because that brings you significant more reliance on God to be able to have Him move you through all of these challenges and never have you quit. Why? Because He's always there to give you another idea on what to do. Okay? All right, let's just take I don't know why I'm preaching to the ministers today, but for some of you, you've been preaching at the same place and doing the same round of meetings for months, if not years, and literally nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. Yeah, you're getting people saved, which is awesome, but do you really want to have the same round of 15 meetings every single year? Do you really want to have the same people coming into your churches every single time? Or do you want some fresh new people in there? Do you want to have it grow? Okay? At some point, you're going to say, okay, what do I have to do to make it better? Well, guess what? There's somebody who's going to help you. That's God. It is. When you have a desire to increase, especially if you have a church of 200 people right now, 200 people is a good church. It is. But God wants it to be 1,000 people. He does. He wants it to be bigger. Why? Because there's more people. Because if your anointing is that powerful, He wants people under you. He does. So if you have that desire and you're not sure what to do from there, what do? What's your first step? Is go to the Lord. Go to the Lord. He'll give you an idea. Maybe He'll say, go learn from this guy. Or maybe He'll give you an idea of what to do. A scripture to put in your spirit to say, okay, do this, this, or this. Okay? It's not just business. It's also ministry too. Okay? So really at this point, it's, where's your faith? Do you really believe that financial abundance is yours? If you do, then you're not going to quit. That's what destroys the desire to quit, is the faith of the Spirit. Those two scriptures I put in front of you. Philippians 3:13 and 14 and Romans 4:20. Those two. You put those in your spirit and you're not going to quit. You're not. It'll destroy the desire to quit. Okay? And that's why you see a lot of people that it can be very frustrating at times if you see somebody who's really faith-filled and no matter what comes at them, they still keep going. They still look on ahead. They don't put all of their focus and effort onto the problem that's at hand. Yes, you have to deal with it. You do. But the main focus is not that. The main focus is going forward. What do I have to do from here? That's the main focus. So just keep that in mind. It's the scriptures will help you destroy the desire to quit. It's one thing everybody always talks about, motivational speakers say, don't quit, don't quit, don't quit. Yeah, of course. Nobody wants to quit. Nobody wants you to quit. But a lot of people do, even listening to that. Why? Because there's still that desire in there to quit. Okay? So this is again, a lot of people, if you're not doing faith-filled motivation or whatever, and you're not putting scriptures in people's spirits, it's only going to stay in your mind. And if it stays in your mind, eventually the world's programming is going to destroy your mind. But if your spirit is strong, okay, your mind takes direction from your spirit. So if your spirit is good, if your spirit is faith-filled, then your mind is always going to be faith-filled. And you don't need constant motivation to keep going and going and going. That's the difference. Okay? So again, if you're from an earthly perspective, yes, you need to watch all those speeches on motivation. Again, great. I mean, not taking away from those people. Really, I listen to them too. Don't take me the wrong way. But I'm certainly going to tell you that at some point you shouldn't need a motivational speaker to keep going. You should know that this is my heavenly assignment. I'm not quitting, and if I'm stuck, I'm going to God. That's how you destroy the desire to quit. Number one, believe those scriptures. Philippians 3:13-14 and Romans 4:19-20. You believe those. You put them in your spirit and you read them every single day. Father, thank you for building my faith by not quitting. Father, thank you for new business ideas. Father, thank you for helping me get over this battle. Father, thank you for giving me the plan to defeat my enemies. Okay? There's nothing too hard for God. I don't care where you are. I really don't. Okay? All right? Even if you got, negative $10,000 in your bank account. Okay? That's no problem for God. God will help you out of that. He will. Okay? I've been in a similar situation. I have. Okay? Believe me, it's not fun. But when you go to God and have full reliance on Him, that's what He wants. Now, He doesn't want you to be in that position, but if that's what it takes to have full desire and full reliance on Him, He's not going to stop it from happening. Sorry, He's not. So either put the scriptures in your spirit now, or you're going to have some challenges and some refining to do. And those are not fun. Okay? All of us will look at those scriptures, and I'll just end on this. All of us will look at the scriptures about gold being refined in the fire and say, ooh, yeah, I like that gold bar at the end. How do you think the gold is feeling getting heated to 1,500 degrees? Really? Just think about that for a second. You think obviously precious metals don't have feelings like humans do or animals do. But you think that if that gold did have feelings, you think he would be feeling really good going into that fire? No, he's like, get me the hell out of here. Really. That's the way you're going to feel if you don't start putting these scriptures in your spirit. Otherwise, you're going to have some trials ahead of you. And I don't want that. Not that trials are bad, because they build your faith and endurance and skill set and all that great wisdom stuff, okay? But at the same time, guess what? It's going to be rough for a couple of minutes. It is. So that's why I'm telling you this now, so you don't have to go through that. You just build your spirit now, build your faith now, believe it, and move forward. And don't quit. Get the desire to quit out of you. It's not don't quit, because then you have to be, if you have to constantly be told don't quit, well, guess what? That means you still have a desire to quit. Okay? If you have to hear somebody say don't quit, don't quit, don't quit, that means you have a desire to quit. Take the desire to quit out of you. That's what I'm doing here. Getting the desire to quit out of you. So keep pressing on, keep moving forward, put those scriptures in your spirit. I can't wait to hear from you. Okay? And my very first book in the Heavenly Treasury series does just that. Link below to be able to purchase it from barnesandnoble.com. There you go. So that'll put some scriptures in your spirit. That'll get you moving forward. That'll get you on your heavenly assignment. And therefore, before I can even talk to you about finances, you have to be able to not quit. You have to get that quit word out of your vocabulary. You also have to make sure that the desire to quit is also out of your vocabulary. You do. Your desire to quit must be out of your vocabulary. And this is how. Those two scriptures, okay? I'll just put them in the chat right here. Okay? Those two scriptures will keep you from quitting. You read those every single day. Press on, looking forward to what's ahead. For you in business, it means looking forward to that prize. Those prize of those sales, the prize of that marketing, the prize of the leadership, the prize of the abundance coming in, the prize of all the great things that you can do that other people will want to know how you did, okay? And again, that's another key thing that I talk about a lot here is why do people want to follow you if you're broke? They don't. I don't care how spirit-filled you are, how good you feel living under a bridge. Nobody wants to live under a bridge. Sorry, they don't. Okay, for right now, the number one pain of Americans in America right here, from an economic perspective, is inflation. If you're beating inflation, people want to know what the heck you're doing because they want to beat it too. It's not fun. You think people like waking up and one day, 12 months from now, and seeing their car insurance go up 30%? It's not. You can't cut a car. You got to have transportation. Okay, especially around where I live, which is God's country, which is a phenomenal place to live. But just think about that for a second. The necessities that most people need to buy going up 20-30% in price. It's disgusting. It is. Now that's a topic for another show on how to be able to beat that. But if you're beating that right now and you're saying, how did you do that? God, they're going to listen to you. That's why financial abundance is so much more than just you and your family. Now that's the first part, is blessing yourself and your family. But think about this for a second. If there's a strong desire of people to be financially well off, and even just maintaining what they have would be a win for a lot of people. If you're able to do that, don't you think people are going to listen to you? Of course they are. That's why this is so much bigger than you. It is. It's so much bigger than you. The vision is so much bigger than you. And that's what God's going to put into you, is a vision that's bigger than yourself. That's been my vision for my entire life, and will be for my entire life, is to help people increase financially. It is. Because a lot of the times that when I see people talk about finances, it's all about stewarding what you have and making sure your giving's good. There's so much more to it than that. There is. Those are important. Don't get me wrong. But this is not 1994. Where you can just, if you need to increase, you can just temporarily go and eat nothing or scraps on the food, get a second job, and in 6 months you're fine. This isn't the way that is. You can't do that here. Not in this economy. No, you got to do something different. You do. And that's why I'm so focused on this increase, is because we're at the point in our economy right now where adding a second job will not help you get ahead. In fact, a lot of people are working a second job because they have to. They have to. It's not because they want to, it's because they have to. And so if you want to get out of the mess you're in and you're already working 2 jobs, what are you going to do? Work 3 jobs? No. There's a better way to do it. And that's what we talk about here on this broadcast. So with that being said, put the faith in your spirit. Don't quit. Get the desire ahead. You have a guaranteed financial abundance in the Lord when you do what He asks you to do in the manner He wants you to do it. So focus on that. Focus on the faith. Let those trials you're going through build you up. Build you up. Don't let them tear you down. Let them build you up. Build you up for sure. So with that being said, thank you so much for everybody in here. Thank you so much to the chat. You added definitely some great contributions today. Really thankful for what you said. Okay, really hopeful that you got something out of this, some value out of this. Okay, and with that being said, next time, between now and the next broadcast, go ahead and get the book. It's right below. Okay, just to be clear, I don't take a dime from that book. I want you to be built financially from that book. It is. It's the first one in the series. It is. It will not be the last. That I can promise you. But it's the first one in the series because it's the most important. If you don't have fear of the Lord, you're not going to do what He asks you to do, then what's the point of talking to you about finances? It's going to be bad. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for your time. We'll talk to you next time. Take care, everybody.